Think back to when you were a young child. Now, imagine that strange people come into your home and take you from your family because they've decided your family's negligent, simply due to the color of their skin. They cut your hair, they make you wear strange clothes, they give you a new name, and they won't let you speak your own language. It's a scary scenario, but it's one that's played out repeatedly for thousands of Indian children across our country for decades. Today I'm going to introduce you to the Indian Child Welfare Act, also known as ICWA. I'll be briefly explaining the history that led up to the creation of this act and what it's meant to do. The Indian Child Welfare Act is a federal law which is meant to protect Indian children and preserve the Indian heritage. ICWA is not widely known unless you're Native American or a part of their community in some manner. Historically, American Indians suffered greatly at the hands of our government, including being removed from their lands. In the 1800s, the government forced the Indians from their lands and placed them on reservations. They also passed laws prohibiting Indian people from practicing many of their long-held traditions and customs. Starting in the 1880s, Indian children were forcibly removed from their homes and sent to boarding schools that were created to educate them by immersing them into white Christian American culture, and this continued for decades. There's a quote from a speech by the founder of the infamous Carlisle Indian Industrial School in which he said, "Kill the Indian in him and save the man." The goal was to assimilate the Indians and make them more civilized. Over the years, private agencies were also removing children from their homes and placing them with white families. In the 1960s, the government realized what they had helped to create for these children had actually done severe damage to them. Congress found that state officials, including judges and social workers, often removed Indian children based on biased and culturally insensitive grounds. After additional testimony and evidence from tribal leaders, Congress realized a need for change. In response to that testimony and evidence, the Indian Child Welfare Act was passed in 1978. The ICWA Policy Declaration, found in the United States Code, Chapter 25, Section 1901, states in part, "It is the policy of this nation to protect the best interests of Indian children and to promote the stability and security of Indian tribes and families by the establishment of minimum federal standards for the removal of Indian children from their homes." ICWA focuses on keeping children with their own family, their tribal community, or related tribal families as a priority over non-Indian families. It gives tribes concurrent jurisdiction with the state over the child's welfare. It allows the tribe, parents, or custodians to be more involved in the decision-making regarding the children's placement. ICWA only covers eligible Indian children who are members of a federally recognized tribe. Due to ICWA, legal disputes have been raised over the years. Many question whether the act works in the best interest of the child. In one case, a young girl was placed with a non-native family in California. Lexi was with the couple from age 2 to age 6 when ICWA came into play during their attempt to adopt her. The court was contacted by a distant relative in Utah who also wanted to adopt Lexi, and the court decided in favor of that relative due to ICWA. The couple appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, but their final petition was denied, and Lexi was sent to the relative in Utah. In another case, a newborn was voluntarily placed for adoption by her Indian birth mother. Veronica was with her adopted family for 2 years when the court decided that her birth father should have custody. She lived with him for 2 years, during which time the couple appealed the court's decision. The appeals court found that because the birth father had not had custody of Veronica prior to the adoption, ICWA didn't apply, so he was forced to give his daughter back or face arrest. The Indian Child Welfare Act is not a perfect solution, but it has brought awareness of the importance of cultural connection for the Indian children. Based on history, there's no doubt that there was a need for laws to protect Indian children. The treatment of generations of Indians and their families prompted the desperate need for change, and in response, Congress enacted ICWA. I would like to share two quotes with you that are attributed to the Lakota chief Sitting Bull. "A child is the greatest gift from Wakantanka in response to many devout prayers, sacrifices, and promises. Let us put our minds together and see what kind of life we can make for our children." Finally, our changing beliefs and understanding have shown that an Indian child's identity is closely connected to their relationship with their tribe as well as their culture, and we must do all we can to protect and preserve that identity. Thank you.